Hi, my name's Katherine Bateson-Chandler, and we're going to discuss the difference between flexion and bend in our horses. Okay, so for me, flexion is more just a flexion right at the horse's pole, which is right here. So when I flex, I want to make sure, again, if I go to flex him and I don't want him to come around, I make sure he stays up to the bridle, and then it's just that, just so I can see the edge of his inside eye. Again, he's not moving anywhere, so it's a little difficult. But I just want to feel like nothing changes here. This outside shoulder doesn't fall, and all I want him to do is just flex right in here. I want to feel like I've got that much control, good, that I just want that much flexion. Good, and that's a flexion for me. I can see that eye, I can't see that eye. This shoulder hasn't changed, and nothing else has changed in his body. I just want to be able to affect just his pole and just his jaw. Now when I go for bend, it's a little bit different. And again, depending as you move up the levels, bend obviously becomes more and more extreme. You know, if you're at training in first level, you're not going to have half as much bend as we do in the Grand Prix half passes. And when you move up to Grand Prix, you have an extreme amount of bend. And again, for me, bend is more about going from nose to tail. When I want my horse to bend, it's not just about his neck. I want to make sure that first, always, before I do any kind of bend, whether I'm going into a shoulder in or if I'm going into a half pass, I want to make sure I have shoulder 4, which means that now the horse is bent around my inside leg. Because this has to be the fulcrum which he's going to bend around. So I always want to make sure that first I've got that little bit shoulder 4, so I'm not going to bend and the outside shoulder falls out. That's what you'll see so many times. Like we can even demonstrate that a little bit. So as I'm walking my horse here, we'll just do it at the walk so you can see it. Most of the time, if you say to somebody that you want bend, you see pretty much the same thing happen every time if you don't set up a little bit in shoulder 4. Again, I want my horse to walk here, and again, I'm just keeping this little bit of flexion. Again, not really thinking about a lot of bend because I'm on a straight line. So straight horse with a flexion on straight lines, a bent horse on bent lines. Good, so most people when they say that, they do this, and then the horse's shoulder falls out. So I say do this, and they go immediately to their inside rein and their outside leg. The horse falls down onto the forehand with his inside ear. Probably the shoulder sticks out, and then he just looks crooked. That's crooked, that's not bent. So when you have a horse that's bent, you want to make sure, again, that you come in a little bit shoulder 4. So then I've got control of my horse's inside hind leg. You want to, at all times, make sure that that inside hind leg goes right in between his 2 front legs. And again, I want to have my little bit of flexion here. I'm not thinking about the bend. Good, and we'll do it at the walk again so you can really see it. So when I'm going to do it right, I'm going to hopefully move him from my inside leg up to my outside rein. Then I'm going to bend, and then I'm going to really have him into my outside rein. And again, my inside leg is active, my inside leg is active. Here I've got control. I'm moving the whole outside of the horse. And then I'm almost thinking the easiest way to describe the half pass is a haunch is in on a diagonal line. And then it becomes, of course, more and more extreme as you move up the levels. But you must always start it a little bit in shoulder 4 so you set him up into your outside rein. Good, so here my horse is up into my outside rein. I'm feeling like all the energy is moving up this way. Then all I've got to do is just keep my bend here through the whole body, my inside leg on, and then I ask the whole horse to move sideways. I'm not going to let this outside shoulder get behind me. That's it. Good. See there, he's much more parallel. And that's how you get a good parallel half pass. Again, you've got to have control. You've got to feel like you've got bend up into your outside rein. Good. And then I finish my half pass in a shoulder 4 again this way. So now I'm going to shoulder 4 this way, just with my flexion, not with a bend. So shoulder in, really you got to think about that flexion, because as soon as people start thinking about too much bend, they lose the outside of the horse. So here I'm going to do it a little bit at the beginning wrong. So I'm going to come in, and now I'm just going to bend him, make him look there. Good, and then I'm going to use my outside leg, and then probably my haunches are going to come ahead. My outside shoulder is going to fall out, and I've got no weight in this outside rein. And see, I'm on the forehand my horse is. Like that's incorrect, and I have no control over him. Now I want to bring him up into shoulder 4 again. Make sure he's into my outside rein. Then he stays off the forehand. Good, and then I have this flexion. Good, so then again, he's around my inside leg. Good, there he lost a little bit of bend. I use my inside leg again. Good, and there, see, he doesn't go on the forehand. I want his ears to stay in the same spot. Good boy. So straight horse with a flexion on straight lines, a bent horse on bent lines.